And hi, everybody. Welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look at some college basketball betting strategies today, while we will also head to Week 14 of the NFL. First, Jim, if people want to subscribe to the channel, well, it's free, and they get a great deal of extra bonus stuff as well.
Absolutely, Dave. Just go to prolinetv.com, click on the subscribe button. You'll get notifications on new videos. Plus, you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's prolinetv.com.
Now, we started this a few weeks ago, and we're having a lot of fun with it. We're going to take a look at our Proline poll question of the week. And this had to do, of course, with the college football playoff. Now that it's locked in, number 1 seed is Alabama. They'll take on the number 4 seed Washington. And then 2, Clemson takes on 3, Ohio State. In a statement, the selection committee, they said the criteria that they considered for this year's final rankings were conference championships, strength of schedule, head-to-head outcomes, quality wins against Power 5 conference teams, and games against common opponents. And some think they got it right. Obviously, others don't. So we decided to poll our audience this week with the question, which is the best all-around team who did not make the college football playoff? And we gave out 4 choices. No write-ins. I don't know if we allow, I don't think it's set up to allow write-ins. So even if you were insistent that Brown University belonged in the list, Penn State, Oklahoma, USC, or Michigan. And it was very close. But USC ended up beating out Michigan. Let's see, I believe I've got the percentages someplace here. They got 39% of the vote. And I actually was a little surprised by the vote. I happen to agree with that. But I was a little surprised the voting turned out that way. I thought Michigan would be the most popular choice.
And I agree with you 100% because I, too, would say USC. Because at this time of the year, maybe not back in September, but right now, I think USC belongs in the top 4. Not that they should be there, but because they're that good right now, they belong there. But Michigan, I would have thought also that would have gotten in that mix and beaten out USC because they're getting all the national press. And got Harbaugh, you got the screw job against the, Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. I would have thought the vote on USC was a lot more sophisticated by our listeners. Yeah. Which is, I'm proud of you guys.
I have a theory as to why that is. I think our audience probably watches more college football than a lot of the people who are on the committee. Bettors watch games.
Well, yeah, they got the money on it.
Yeah, and they want to learn about the teams.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of the pollsters stay up for West Coast games. I don't think they've even seen USC more than a couple of times this year. And they probably only saw them early in the season when they faced Alabama, which at that time USC was a completely different football team than they are now. I think USC is, in terms of the ability of the team, I think USC is the best team that got left out. Now, the one thing I've got to say is that the criteria that they talked about,
they did not follow.
Of course they didn't follow it. Because if they're going on conference championships and head-to-head, then Ohio State can't be in and Penn State has to be in. I wish they would just come out and say we took what we think are the 4 best teams. And you know what? I don't have an argument if they say that.
Well, I can't agree with that because they didn't.
Well, but they can make a stronger case that way than they can by saying, oh, well, we're using conference championships and head-to-head. You can't be using conference championships and head-to-head. Otherwise, Ohio State can't be in.
Well, and USC beat Washington.
Right.
So now you have.
But Washington did win the conference.
But did it matter?
But Ohio State didn't.
It didn't work for Penn State. It didn't work for Penn State. No, I know.
Which is why the criteria that they're saying they used, I don't know. I don't even know which words I can use. It begins with bull.
Well,
it ends with something else.
Could I say that they're full of?
Yes.
Bull.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or horse, depending on your preference.
Yes, we'll go there.
Which, by the way, there's a lot of that around this town right now because National Finals Rodeo is in Las Vegas. One of the
is that bulls or horses?
I think this is
maybe both.
There's lots of everything involved. Great crowds. I got to tell you, the NFR people, they got to be some of the best around. Everybody's doing tons of business.
They do. They come here for fun.
They have a
do
great
have fun.
time.
Yes.
And I'm telling you what, we are so lucky to have that event here.
There are not a lot of stuffed shirts there. That's for sure.
No. We want to thank everybody for participating in this week's poll question. I'm on the wrong camera. And remind you that we will post a new Proline poll question every Monday morning on our respective social media networks, and the results get announced right here on the show. And if you'd like to send us a suggestion for a Proline poll question of the week, or if you have any questions about our selections or service packages, send a direct message on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'll get back to you. Jim will get back to you.
Absolutely, and please follow up because this is a lot of fun.
Right. So let's talk about some college basketball.
Let's do it.
And, it's an interesting sport because it is kind of a 4-season in one sport.
Yeah, it is.
The non-conference,
That's the preseason.
you have to approach from a handicapping standpoint differently than you approach conference play.
I've been preaching that for 40 years. In the beginning, the coaches don't know the rotations, and they're trying all the players. They're trying to see who mixes with who and the chemistry, and that's what they're doing in the preseason, where they're playing rabbits. Sometimes some teams are playing really strong preseason games.
I mean,
really
look at Long Beach State is a perfect example. I mean, who's Long Beach State? Well, it's a Big West team, but I mean, they overschedule every year. They've lost 9 games in a row, but look who they've played.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been this iron.
The question
now
is,
by the way, they're at home Wednesday night against Pepperdine, and Pepperdine might be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
they just have to remember what it's like to win a game, because that's what they have not been doing. So
they're about ready to take out some frustrations on,
that's a good point.
on somebody now that they're dropping down to their own level.
Strength of schedule does mean.
Well, yeah, I think you have to look at the scheduling. And also, I give a little less of a home court advantage early in the season in this pre-conference portion of the schedule than I do once the conference season begins. And that's the simple reason for that. Number one, the opponents are more attractive once conference play begins because then it's all the rivalries and the kids want to show up and make a lot of noise. Secondly, a lot of them aren't even in school at this time of year. You've got breaks and things like that, and crowds aren't as big.
Right now, you have the finals coming up. So the campuses are at times very, very empty, so you're not getting a lot of support. So you have to watch that. There's a lot of things that go on. You're right. There are 4 seasons. You got the preseason, you got the conference season, then you have the conference tournaments, and then, of course, you have the postseason, the NIT, CBI, CIT, and the NCAA. So you have 4 seasons, and you really have to know how to handicap each one of those seasons, because if you're real good in the preseason and you don't know how to adjust to the conference games, you're gonna be looking for a loan, believe me.
All right, so let's talk about one of the non-conference games, and this is a pretty good one. Villanova. Well, we know all about them. Notre Dame, we know all about them too. Mike Bray puts together a good team.
Yeah, it's a good
quality team every year. He's a good basketball coach.
Good coach.
Villanova sitting at 9-0 right now. They've covered 5 of those 9 games. The Irish, they're sitting at 9-0, and you can't ask for a better weekend matchup than this. This is a good one.
One of the difficult, ranked number 3 is Villanova, and number 23 is Notre Dame. One of the problems with doing this game or analyzing this game at this point, because you have no idea what the point spread's going to be. But you have national champs, Villanova, and they're coming on strong, playing 9-0. Notre Dame at home, they're 9-0 as well, 6-2 ATS at home. So, I mean, this is going to be... Now, when we talk about preseason games, we're talking about usually about games that don't matter that much. But when you talk about teams like this, which is the top 10 or 20 teams in the country, they do matter because they know who they're going to visit. They know where they're going. They know what the reputation of these teams are. And they get up for these games. In preseason, they're messing with the rotation. They got guys that are not going to play that much in the games. You're not going to have a lot of that in a game like this. This is quality against quality. Both teams are going to want to win this game. This is big.
Notre Dame, by the way, has they've done, I should say Villanova, this is a fairly long-term trend now. They've done extremely well in non-conference games. So Jay Wright apparently pays some attention to this because...
Jay Wright can coach.
This is over 60 games now.
So
we're talking about a few seasons.
40 and 20, 40, 21 and 2.
That's pretty good.
ATS in non-conference games. Yep. This guy comes to play. He does.
Yeah, and he obviously puts some focus on these games. I think there are some coaches who pay more attention to these games than others. And I think Jay Wright falls into that category. He's done a great job at Villanova. Of course, he's got a little Las Vegas history. He was an assistant here way back when.
How long ago was that?
That's what, Raleigh Massimino?
Oh, yeah, Raleigh. Villanova guy. Yep.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
All right. That's it for the Villanova Notre Dame game. No, we can't really give you picks on it, but I wouldn't go against Villanova at this point. I know it'll be a big game for Notre Dame, but I don't think I want to go against the Wildcats.
This is the kind of thing where I talk about it all the time. Amateurs bet on teams. Pros bet on numbers. It's going to depend. What number would you lay? And what number would you take? That comes down to that. It's that simple. You just have to know what you're talking about mathematically.
Now, that would be a good type of question. If you want to ask us any sports wagering questions, well, go to ProlineTV.com. Drop us a line. It doesn't cost anything. And speaking of not costing anything, be sure to hit the subscribe button because you will then get 7 days of action free.
Plus, go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, and my free fast facts. Plays from the nation's top handicappers are right on that site.
When we come back, we're going to look at the NFL Week 14, and there's a big game coming up this weekend. The Packers suddenly have a pulse. The Seahawks, pretty good over the weekend against Carolina. That's next. Stay tuned. All right, so here we go. The Seattle Seahawks coming off a very easy win against the Carolina Panthers. I mean, it was almost comically easy. The Green Bay Packers coming off a win that was rather nice for you because you used them as your NFL Game of the Year.
I did, and it's over 21 years. I think that's my 16th victory in 21 years, so that's pretty good. Or 22 years. I think it's something like that. And what I was surprised about in the game was how severe the injury to Aaron Rodgers was. He didn't move the way, and it makes a big difference in their offense because when that offensive line breaks down, he is so good at moving around and sometimes just running and getting some good significant yards, which he did not do in that game. That hamstring on his left leg has really held him back. So I talk about that there, and I'm happy I won the game. Of course, Houston, they hung in. Osweiler is not earning his money.
Oh, boy.
They have to be disappointed. I'm not happy with the Houston head coach. I don't think he's a head coach in the NFL, period. Osweiler's school is still out. They paid him so much, they're going to have to keep him and work with him. But as far as the Green Bay Packers, now we're looking at Seattle, which is a different animal.
Oh, yeah.
You got a very now they lost Earl Thomas, which is a big loss.
It's a huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes a big difference in the numbers going forward and the projections for Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. But they're going to give Aaron Rodgers a hard time in this game. And they're not going to be affected by the weather because they're used to playing in bad weather. They're a good road team.
But their last road game was as bad as it gets, and I think they're going to remember that. I mean, they were terrible at Tampa Bay.
Flat spot, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. I thought I had Tampa Bay in that game. It was an easy decision.
I mean, an over and under in the game of Seattle 6 points.
Yeah.
How many would you have bet over? I would have.
Yes.
So it's kind of
actually they should have gotten blown off the field because Tampa had great field position throughout that game.
Well, Tampa's pretty good. They're playing
7-5 now.
I know they've in the beginning of the year I bet them over the win total for the season. I thought they were going to come on and be pretty good. I'm kind of shocked. I mean, it's been the last 3 games now: Kansas City, Seattle, and San Diego, and 2 of those games are on the road.
Yeah.
But they're really shaping up.
They're actually starting.
They're really shaping up.
They are starting to play pretty good football now.
Now we got back to this.
I want to get back to the Packers because I'm not reading all that much. I know they've got a pulse again, but I'm not reading all that much into these 2 wins.
They're not that impressive.
I wasn't that impressed, and I don't think they're a very good football team, and I still think there are issues, and I don't know what they are. I have no access to this, so it's opinion that I can't offer any documentation whatsoever on this. But I think there's problems between McCarthy and Rodgers. I think maybe the relationship has gone stale. And I have a feeling it's going to show up this weekend. I haven't played the game, but I'm certainly looking at the Seattle side.
Rodgers is a tremendous quarterback. He always has been.
He's a great player.
Great player. You know, as we get older and as we have success in life, we start to add different things to our life and
he made a nice
different
addition.
people. Yeah, he's got a Hollywood girlfriend.
Oh, yeah,
he's doing commercials. Some of them are pretty funny. Where
He's
he
actually
breaks
very
the glass.
good.
He's
Yeah.
very good. But, you know, that's what happens. You lose your focus a little bit, you move on, and obviously your attention goes away from other things. There's only 24 hours in a day, folks. So I'm not saying that's negative to his life. I mean, you have to do those things as you mature. But he is a different guy than he was 5-6 years ago because he's got different people, different things he's doing, and God bless him for that. But there seems to be issues with McCarthy. And there has been issues with McCarthy.
Sometimes long-term relationships between coaches and players
either grow together or you grow apart.
Yeah, really.
It's one or the other.
It just kind of feels to me, and you do get this sense from talking to people who are a little bit closer to the actual situation than I am, because, you know, I'm out here, I'm just looking at it as the same as most of you guys that are watching right now. It just doesn't seem like they're on the same page. Everything's fine when the team's winning, but they had lost 5 out of 6 before winning these last 2. I'm still buying more into the team that was losing games more than the one that's won a couple in a row.
This is a tough spot, though. I mean,
Yeah,
Seattle
hasn't been great on the road.
No, they haven't been great on the road, and they're not that healthy. Their offensive line is still very marginal. Their running game is marginal. They just are not the same team.
I think the running game is a lot better now with Thomas Rawls. I think Rawls is definitely the best running back.
But it's not what it was when
it's not Marshawn Lynch.
So it's not the same
But Rawls
team.
does 2 things. 1, he can get tough yards, and 2, he is a much better blocker than the kid from Notre Dame, who's that's a part of the game he's going to have to work on.
Wilson, still Wilson. He's still
He's
great at what he does.
He's healthy again.
Yes.
And a healthy Russell Wilson.
He was not healthy the whole year.
No, that maneuverability is back for him. I think Seattle is, and I think this is probably a thought that most of you watching right now will mostly agree with. Seattle is looking like a really dangerous team, and I think
they are dangerous.
I think they're the biggest threat to the Dallas Cowboys to get to the Super Bowl, and that's an easy call.
I think it's the one team in football that can actually beat Dallas.
Oh yeah. I make Dallas the favorite.
Yep.
Particularly if Dallas is home. There's no question about that.
Dallas will be home.
Right.
They're healthier. They are healthier than Seattle at this moment.
But it'll be interesting to see. And again, we're putting the cart way before the horse because this is still a few weeks down the road. Still got 4 more weeks of regular season action before the playoffs even begin, and then the Cowboys won't be involved that first week anyway. We'll see what happens.
Well, this team won't be involved first week either.
No, it doesn't appear that way.
Right.
But we'll see what happens when it's a different type of pressure when the playoffs start, and the Cowboys going in as the favorite is going to be really interesting to see how they handle that. I think they're very capable of it, but it's a lot tougher come playoff time.
And you have Carroll. Now, we haven't really talked much about this matchup. We're going to circling the wagons here with this. You got to be careful not to overreact to what Seattle did last week against Carolina, because Carolina, folks, Cam Newton is very immature. Rivera, I think, has lost the team. They look like a team that has quit. Now, I'm not saying...
It was embarrassing on Sunday.
I'm not saying they quit, because pro athletes generally don't. But...
You mean individually?
Yes.
But as a team can quit.
They're not meshing.
Right.
And Cam is not a leader. He pouts too much. He whines too much.
Can I throw in a little, my own little Cam Newton thing?
Yeah, I wish you would, yes.
I understand he's got a beef about being hit late and some illegal hits are taking place, and he's been bitching about that. Well, I've mentioned this before. Stop calling attention to yourself and with the Superman stuff. And then, by the way, in the Carolina game, he throws an absolute cheap shot.
In which game?
In this game over the past weekend at Seattle. Gets picked off, the guy's running on the sidelines, he low bridges him. It's completely illegal. It's called a cheap shot. Okay? You know, if you don't like it being done to you, you might want to try not doing it yourself to a defender who's running the opposite way. It was just a cheap. I don't want to hear, well, he's a quarterback, he doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, he does.
We also have to remember, and I agree with everything you just said, last year Carolina played the easiest schedule in football. And they were 15-1, and they did remarkably well. Cam is an amazing athlete, no question, but is he a head case? And some of the things you're saying about that celebration, when you celebrate like that, and the other teams look at that,
they don't like that.
You actually are turning the knife in them.
Yep.
And eventually they're going to take shit.
You know,
It's tough
the
guys.
quarterback who does it, I think it bugs them even more.
Yeah.
It's okay to celebrate, but he goes through this elaborate ritual every time.
So
anyway,
so let's go back 2 weeks. This team loses, scores 5 points at Tampa. They haven't been that strong on the road. Last week they played a team that just absolutely gave up quickly. Did they give up? Did they quit on the season? Remains to be seen. The Packers are not playing that well. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit hurt with that hamstring. If he doesn't have that mobility, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. He's going to have to move around to get the passes off and pick up yardage. So that's our analysis of the game. I think that does it, right?
Yeah, pretty much does.
We'll move on.
Now, you know, if viewers can get free plays from us, actual plays, right on their cell phone, it's very easy.
Just text GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827, and you get a free play right now to your cell phone. That's easy. It's that easy. GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827. We'll send you a game right now.
We're going to continue with some NFL notes. Plus, we're going to talk about the big showdown in the NFC East. Revenge. Cowboys and Giants. Stay tuned.
Yep.
All right, let's check out, before we get to the Cowboys and Giants, which is the big game on this week's schedule, no question about that, I guess we could discuss these. We just talked about the Carolina Panthers and whether they have packed it in for the season. How about two teams that were, it was pretty ugly this week. And the 49ers, they've lost 11 games in a row. And I think they're wondering whether Chip Kelly's going to be around next year, and half the personnel might be gone. And the Jets, that was just disgraceful to play that badly at home against Indianapolis. And you wonder now, I know it's only the second year of Todd Bowles, but boy, he had an air of resignation about him after the game. It was, we got our ass kicked. We got our ass kicked. I don't know. I needed to see more fire out of the coach after that game.
There are, what happens, there's attrition in coaching ranks. You got offensive, defensive coordinators, you got head coaches, and a lot of times we're moving coaches up the ranks, and that's what happens in business. And there was a book years ago was written called The Peter Principle. It's about elevating people to positions where they can't perform. And I would have to say at this moment, you got coaches in Houston, you got coaches with the Jets, there's several around the league, and I'd throw Chip Kelly into that mix as well. I think he's a college coach, he's not a pro coach.
I think their organization is just bad from the top down.
Yeah, but he was in Philly too, and I wasn't impressed with what he does. He basically annihilates his defense by running that offense and getting off the field that fast. So the skew in the minutes.
And if you don't have the personnel to run it,
no, you can't.
Don't do it.
You gotta. In any case, there's a lot of bad coaches in the league. Head coaches, offensive, defensive coaches, like Schwartz. He's a pretty good defensive coach, but they moved him up to head coach in Detroit, and he was a mess. Now he's back to defensive coach again, and he's doing a pretty good job.
I think Wade Phillips is one of the best examples of it.
Exactly.
Wade Phillips is just, to me, was a mediocre head coach. The guy's as good a coordinator as
But you got to get your head coaches from somewhere, and it might as well be from those. But it's all trial and error. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. You bring them out of college, you pay them a lot of money, you put them out there, and they look like dog whatever. And so bottom line is, that's what's wrong. The league right now is in a down mode. There are no really great teams. And even the Dallas Cowboys, who 10-1, that's a great year, and they look awesome, but you got to remember they're playing against a lot of teams with inferiority complexes. Okay, so this is not a great time for the NFL at this moment, and a lot of that comes from what's coming out of the colleges,
I would disagree with that, and I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why. Maybe in terms of quality, I don't know, it's tough to judge, but I think this is an absolutely phenomenal year for the NFL, and part of the reason for that is the Dallas Cowboys are back. Now, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm a New Englander, so believe me, I'm not a Cowboys fan. But there's no denying that when the Dallas Cowboys are a marquee team in the standings, that's a really good thing for the NFL because they've got an enormous following. And I don't understand the TV ratings, et cetera. Well, TV ratings are down on everything because there's a lot of things to do other than watch TV. So I think the NFL's just falling into it's a common occurrence thing as far as that goes. The NFL's probably pretty happy America's team is 1 point away from being perfect on the season, and they'll be trying to avenge that 1 point defeat this weekend. This is a game that a lot of people are going to watch this game, and it's going to be fun.
I'm going to agree to disagree with you.
All right.
Okay. I think it is good for the NFL that Dallas is there because they are America's team. It's not good for the NFL to have so many controversies in the officiating.
Oh, that I don't know. I agree with that.
It's not good for the NFL to have so many problems with concussions. It's not good for the NFL to see so many bad plays, so much bad coaching. And it's not a league of quality teams, the A quality teams. It's a league of B or B plus quality teams. And then you have the Jets and Carolina and Jacksonville and garbage at the bottom. So a lot of these teams that are at the top are playing these teams at the bottom, which makes them look better. So you don't have that much quality top to bottom in the NFL. Therefore, you have a down rating on the NFL overall.
I agree.
Great for Dallas, but not so great for the league.
I agree that the quality of play isn't particularly good, and I blame that on the proliferation of the spread offenses in college football. Half these guys don't know what they're doing when they come to the NFL because everybody's playing fast.
Which is what I went back to.
They're all playing
out of college.
Fast break college football. They're throwing the ball all over the field. And honestly, I think the college game has diminished in terms of quality, and therefore the NFL game has as well.
You got to remember, this is a $9 billion league, money-wise, and it's run like a business. And they make so much money, and they charge so much money, and they got so much big contracts. But here's what they need. They need full-time officials, so we don't see this crap out there. We need a developmental league where guys are coming out of college and they need to learn how to play at this level.
How to play pro football.
Yes.
Yes,
that's right.
I agree with that.
So why don't they do those things? Because it costs money to do those things, and they're greedy. So they're getting away with it because we're supporting it. So I'm happy with it because it's my business and I know how to beat it, and that's all great. But from a top to bottom situation, they're gonna pay the price at some point because they're not giving the public what they need to see.
All right, so let's look at the Cowboys and Giants. And I know one thing I'm not going to do, and that's I'm not going to try and beat the Dallas Cowboys. Just not going to do it. There's got to be better ways to make money than to try and beat that team. I took a couple of shots against the actually I've only maybe played against them twice all year. And it didn't work out. And I'm not going to do it anymore.
Well, they haven't covered the last 2 weeks, Dave.
No, I know. Well, okay, barely.
Well, they start to get overpriced.
Yeah, but there's certain when a team reaches freight train status, maybe it's best to just show some discretion, get out of the way. I mean, I got beat on Sunday with the Bills.
Remember what I said?
They're up 24-9 in the third quarter. They're the underdog.
That's crazy.
And they got absolutely run over, 29 points in 16 minutes. And I can't say that I had the right side. I didn't have the right side. Oakland killed them down the stretch of that game. Cowboys and Raiders. If I don't think they're going to win, I'll just leave the game alone. And that's what I'm going to end up doing here because I think this is a game the Cowboys could end up losing. The Giants, first of all, Eli, he usually follows bad game with good game, and he had a bad game at Pittsburgh. He made a lot of mistakes in the red zone. I thought the Giants called a bad football game offensively.
Terrible.
And
I mean, Victor Cruz could have stayed home. They never targeted him.
Did he get targeted, once?
I don't even know if it was once. First of all, you got a new head coach in New York. And Tom Coughlin's gone. He wasn't doing that well at the end. Game management issues were terrible for him. You bring up McAdoo as an offensive coordinator, really never got to develop his skills overall to move up to a head coaching position. Eli is Eli. He's still a quality quarterback. We all lose a little bit over time, but he's still a quality quarterback. They're 8-4 on the season, but they're an ugly 8-4. But we talked about it earlier. The pros don't bet teams. They bet numbers. So when you look at Dallas, yes, they've won their last 2 games, but yes, they've lost against the spread in their last 2 games, right? So the point at which is, at what point do they become too expensive? So that's what you have to look at here. This is a game that the Giants absolutely need to win. Yes, they won the first game of the year, and that's the only loss Dallas has had. But they need to win because they got a team right behind them.
And they only won that game because of a mishap at the end of the game by Dallas, which prevented them from kicking a field goal.
Not necessarily the better team, but it was a competitive game, and they ended up winning the game. But Washington Redskins are out there, and they blew a game last week against the Cardinals. And now they got a big game coming up against Philly. So these are division games. Division games mean a lot. And these teams want to get in the playoffs. We know Dallas is in the playoffs. So we're assuming that one of these 2 teams, the Giants or Washington, are also going to get in as a wild card. Or are they both going to get in? That's a possibility. Depends on what happens in the other divisions in the NFC. But right now, the Giants need this game more than Dallas. Dallas is the better team. Dallas doesn't need the game.
Little history. When talking head-to-head, the over has actually been dominant in this series. 16-5-1 to the over. But that's, that history doesn't always repeat itself. I have a feeling that we might not see all that many points in this football game. I think Dallas can defend Eli Manning and the Cowboys, the Giants' offense back and forth. And I think Dallas is going to be somewhat conservative against the Giants in this game. I don't think they're going to have a wide-open playbook. So I'm kind of leaning toward the under.
This game's going to be played in New York. Open stadium. It's not a dome. It has a tendency to get windy, and it's going to be cold, most likely, because it's December 11th, and that's what usually happens in December. So weather can definitely get involved here. One of the things about Dallas, and I preach this in football, whether it's college or pro, offensive line play is key. There's nobody in football that has a better offensive line than the Dallas Cowboys. They can run the football. So they are built to play well in bad weather. They don't need to throw the ball all over the place. And I mean, Dak has been great. He's a rookie, 23 years old, 19 TDs, 2 interceptions, which is amazing. But you're not going to win 10 out of 11 games by throwing 19 touchdown passes unless your defense is playing well and your offensive line's protecting you. That's why the 2 interceptions helps you a lot. So we know who the better team is. We know who needs the game more. And now it's going to come down to the number. Do you want to take 4? Do you want to lay 2? Whatever it comes out to be. And you have to consider all those factors.
If you want to get free plays every day and a recorded message from our Vegas experts, call the toll-free number, 888-478-9222.
And follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And feel free to send me a direct message with any question about Vegas, the Vegas wagering scene, anything you like.
And that's it. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week with another edition of Proline.